Welcome to Sociology Vibes, where we simplify challenging ideas into easy to understand insights. Today, our focus is on the explanations of the different forms of slavery. Let's start with the definition of slavery. Slavery is a system in which people are treated as property, forced to work or held in captivity, and denied basic freedoms. Slavery is not just about the explicit laws that permit this type of denigrating treatment of people. It's also about the use and abuse of power, control, and the social value assigned to human beings. Chattelslavery is a form of slavery in which individuals are legally treated as property, bought or sold, with no human rights or freedoms. In the United States from the 1600s until the 13th Amendment passed in 1865, Africans and their descendants were enslaved under laws that defined them as property. After chattel slavery, many freed Black Americans farmed land owned by white landowners in exchange for a share of the crops. But unfair debts and high costs kept them trapped in poverty, making sharecropping a new form of control that replaced slavery with economic dependence. Chattel slavery laid deep foundations for racial inequality in American society, and its consequences continued through Jim Crow laws, which enforced racial segregation and denied Black Americans equal rights in education, housing, and employment. These systems created long-lasting barriers that are still visible in contemporary society. Some of these include the following: homeownership and wealth. Historically, banks and federal programs often lawfully refused to give home loans to Black families or to people who lived in mostly Black neighborhoods, a practice called redlining. Many neighborhoods had racial covenants or rules in home deeds that banned selling houses to non-white buyers. These practices kept Black families out of higher value areas, limiting their ability to build and pass down wealth. Consequently, today, white families hold 6 to 7 times more wealth than Black families in the United States. Education and employment. Because school funding depends largely on state funding, property taxes, and local taxes, communities with lower home values receive fewer resources for education in some states. Underfunded schools can limit students' access to college preparation, career programs, and networking opportunities, which in turn affect long-term employment and income. This connection between education and work continues to reinforce racial and class inequality across generations. Criminal justice. After slavery ended, Southern states passed Black codes that targeted freed Black Americans with unfair arrests and forced them into unpaid labor through convict leasing and chain gangs. Today, prisons and private companies profit from mass incarceration and low-paid inmate labor, an arrangement often referred to as the prison industrial complex or prison industrial system. Today, Black Americans make up about 13% of the U.S. population, or represent roughly 32% of those in state and federal prisons. The second form of slavery is bonded labor, debt bondage, or peonage. This is when a person contracts themselves or a family member to work to pay off a debt. And then the terms become so abusive and exploitive, they cannot pay off the debt or remove themselves from the hostile environment. Today, this is still common in parts of the world, and historically it also appeared in the U.S. South, when Black Americans were illegally forced into labor under these laws. Forced labor and human trafficking means someone is kidnapped and works against their will under the threat of coercion. Human trafficking involves the recruiting and transporting of people using force, fraud, and exploitation for labor or sexual exploitation. Migrant workers might be misled about job terms, then held in confined conditions, unpaid, and unable to leave. Child slavery involves children forced into labor, armed conflict, or commercial sex. Domestic servitude involves individuals who live and work in homes under coercion and denied freedom to leave. Enforced marriage is when an adult or child is coerced into marriage without free will and full consent, often resulting in exploitive conditions. From a sociological perspective, these different forms of slavery show how power and inequality are built into social systems. In history, slavery wasn't only about economic exploitation. It was a way to control people and create a social order where some groups had more rights and opportunities than others. By studying slavery, we can see how ideas about race and power became part of society's structure and why their effects are still visible today. And this makes sociology worth exploring further, don't you think? Thank you for watching. Be sure to comment below with your thoughts, questions, or any topics you'd like us to explore next. Let's keep the conversation going and our community growing. See you in the next Sociology Vibes video.